coming in.
Oh my God, you're coming in. Oh, look at that. Adam.
Welcome,
Oh my God,
everyone.
welcome Jen and Adrian and Christy and Rose and everybody. Type in the chat where you are. Type in where you are. We're in Boston. And welcome for to our very first uh
Lilla's Art Chats.
yeah,
We're
yeah, Substack. But you know that.
we're so
So,
excited to have you all here.
oh my God, we're so excited. So here's how, so type in, I don't see anybody in the chat. So
Oh,
put
chat is disabled, somebody said.
chat is
Um,
disabled. Chat. Um,
Maybe click these three buttons.
okay.
Attendees can chat with everyone.
How about now?
Okay, try again.
Try again, peeps.
Yay!
Yay! I gotta have my chat. You know that about me. Okay, Shauna and Adam and Rasika and Reka and Clary, and type where you are. Type where you are. Thank you so much for coming to this experimental. Oh, look at how many did you say?
Yeah, I said it at least 25.
Oh, she wins. I said we'll get 7 people today. She said 25 or 28. And it's our very first. So we're really happy about that. Um, so as you probably saw in the post, I had Katie over just sort of because she's one of my students and I saw she's in Boston. I'm like, Katie, come over. She came over. We had a lovely chat. I said, come over again. We had a lovely chat. I look at her. I go, she was asking me all these great questions. I'm like, let's do this on Substack.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought the purpose of this one, unlike a lot of my others for Make Art That Sells, my e-course platform, which is very structured, it's classes, courses, and so forth. I'm like, let's just hang out and ask me all your questions, but we can do it for our people. And you can ask questions too. So in the question thing, put your question up there. Oh, good.
Okay,
Okay.
we got that figured out. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's really cool is that obviously Lilla has so much experience,
Mhm.
and I'm just a couple years into being more of a full-time illustrator. So she has all of this knowledge that is so helpful and useful. And she was giving me answers to all of these questions. So I'm so excited that it's not just going to be the two of us talking about all of this, but that everybody here is able to learn from all of that too. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a conversation and I want you to chime in the chat, in the Q&A and so forth. So thank you, Lena. Good. Oh, you're in the Poconos. I grew up in Pennsylvania, Adrian. Okay, so why don't you ask me a question?
Sure. So I thought we could just start by talking a little bit about your art process. So,
My art pro
yeah,
okay,
I
yeah.
know you've been creating a lot more art recently,
Yes.
right? Kind of the shift from the
Mm-hmm.
agency to mats, and you're
Mm-hmm.
still doing a million things with
Right.
the retreats
Retreats.
and the current classes, color quests. You're doing all
Mm-hmm.
these things, but I feel like you've been creating a lot more art.
Yeah, you're
So,
absolutely right.
what's that been like getting back to your art a bit more?
I love it. And it's so interesting because, like, here I am at 70 and I love the work I'm doing. And I feel like I've grown, certainly in my So every morning, I should have brought my journal. Every morning, most mornings, I journal with my fountain pens. And
The
it's,
one that you just showed me?
yeah,
Oh, it's beautiful. You need
thank
to bring
you.
it next time.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's just like, just the writing like this up
Mm.
and down, very classical, but it has some wonk sometimes. And I love that. And then I have a little portable watercolor set with a water brush, and I'll just paint like the edges. And then, so I don't know. Okay, so then another thing happened when I retired the agency. I asked a friend of mine, I don't know if I told you this, I asked a friend, like, I want to be more like outside of the studio and do something
Mm.
that's not career, like working on my career or whatever, or the agency. And she said, why don't you volunteer 2 hours a week at the kindergarten
Yeah.
at the local preschool, which my kids went to? So 2 hours a week. I'm at the preschool hanging with the kids. Um, hanging, you put that in the chat, Carla. I'm hanging with the kids and with my coffee. They're 5 years old. And I say to them, when you're at my art table, you can, and they complete the sentence, you can do anything you want.
That's so
They know
fun.
that we can do anything we want. And it's not structured. I show them some maybe cool things, or I give them like stickers, and we just hang out, and everybody has their own style, people. Every kid has their own style from the girl who does the perfect flowers very carefully. And I say, you like to work, who likes to work slowly? Who likes to work fast? And then Ethan, all he does is scribble in circles. But I don't want him to not get, like people are, oh, like the kids who can draw realistically, even when I was young, like, because I didn't draw realistically, drew weird. So even those kids, like the kid who can draw realistically, get, oh, look how good that is.
Hmm.
So I go around to each kid and I go like, oh, this is what I did on last time on Tuesday. I said, show me how you drew that thing. I want to draw it on my sketchbook. So with each kid, I did something that they did
That's
to
so
learn from
fun. I
them.
bet they felt so important.
So important. But Ethan, I'm like, Ethan, show me how you do those scribbles. Okay, circle. So you used a brown marker. Okay. And by the way, they have like, I brought in 80 Prismacolor markers, by the way, and decent paper. So
Oh, that's so nice. As a kid, I always got so frustrated by the school art supplies.
yeah,
I
they're
would have
not
loved
using Crayola.
this.
I'm sorry. No, with like five colors. No, they have like 12 different pinks and
Amazing.
magenta, and it's beautiful. So that's important. So, long story short, in that on my sketchbook, I've been I have my fountain pen and my watercolors, and I've been doing little flowers in there. So that's part of how I've been, it's like I'm hanging out with a bunch of
Mhm.
artists and we're doing art like at a cafe, except as my son said, the 5 year olds, it's like they're all drunk. It's true. Like I have not been around 5 year olds. I don't know if you have. I mean, I have two grown kids. They're from another planet for sure. Like I'm from another planet. They're really like fresh off the planet. They're a riot. I love
I'd
them.
love to hear if anybody has kids, some like ridiculous art project that your kid has
Mhm.
done. Go ahead and put it in the chat because I've been working with 3 and 4 year olds recently, and I have a background in education, but I usually
Mhm.
work with school age, so like 6 and up. That's
Yeah.
kind of my
Mhm.
experience, and the 3 to 4 year olds have been hilarious.
They're like out of
Just
control.
like I
They can do
gave
nothing.
them
Yeah.
palette paper to mix their tempera paint, to mix their colors. And then we also had this whole project of like, at the end, they were going to create this beautiful snowman. It was super cute, something
Mhm.
off of Pinterest. But all they wanted to do was mix their colors.
Yeah.
And like
No.
that was it. At the
Oh,
end, the
right.
kids were so proud. They held up their palette paper, and I just gave the families all the rest of the supplies to take home
Yeah.
because
No, they don't want a
they didn't want
project.
to do
They
it.
don't want more chores.
Mm-mm.
They're in the moment and they want
Yeah.
to just squish and mish. And that's why, I don't have them do specific projects. And
Hmm.
it's amazing. I don't have to give them a project. They already know what they want to do, and a lot of them do the same things over and over. So, why this is interesting to you is your style was there when you were 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. Your style was there. And now it's just a matter of digging it out, pulling it out.
It'd be really fun to go back and look at art from when we
Yeah,
were kids
I know.
and see what's the same.
It tells the whole story.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I love what you said too about making sure the kid who was doing the swirl felt really validated
exactly.
because honestly, I don't think I learned until a few years ago that art doesn't have to be realistic to be
Wow.
good.
Well,
Even like taking
yeah.
the first class I did with Matt's was ICB, Illustrating Children's Books.
Hmm.
And I remember sketching, it was Cleopatra, and I was
Oh,
like
yeah.
doing all of these detailed
Hmm.
drawings, trying to make sure that everything was accurate. And
Yeah.
then all of my favorite pieces that came up in the review
Yeah.
were
Of
stylized and
course.
wonky. And I was like,
Right.
wait, this is what
Personality.
we can do.
Yeah. And so I was a full-time illustrator in New York, busy as can be. And, but all I really loved was color and line.
Mm.
And in fact, I'm teaching color and lettering. Lettering is just line. I loved color and line, and I was just painting these like 6 to 8 feet long paintings in my loft apartment in Brooklyn that were just color and line, like blobs and line, And that's what I loved. And then my illustration became more blob with like the pastel, like you
Hmm.
see my chicken soup book,
Oh yeah.
it's oh, look what I
Would
did. Look what I did. You know how I got my
yeah.
new drawers? Look, now I can just reach in when
Wait,
I'm
that's
live.
perfect.
So see how it's like just color and blobs and line. And look how
Hmm.
abstract. It's barely imagery. So I know I showed this a lot, but
I like how the handle repeats. It's like the same shape 3 times. It
oh
gets
that, yeah,
smaller. That's nice. Yeah, right
yeah,
there. I like that.
yeah. Um,
You
so
mentioned your color class. I know you had some stuff to, should we show? No?
yeah, we should. Should I go get it?
Yeah, it's really cool. She was showing me some of the color
Oh,
stuff before,
should
so she's
I?
gonna grab it.
Well, oh, this I can show. Okay. So I'm really excited about this color class. And when Katie came today, first thing, I said, so how are you liking the Maths prep? I mean, not the Maths prep, the Monday mutes. Who's in that class, by the way? Type in if you're in the class and the Monday mutes. What do you think the purpose of the Monday mutes was? It seems so simple. You're just, for those who aren't in there, um, you take a color, I tell you red, and then add a little bit of white and a little bit of the complement and a little more of white and a little more red and more white, more complement, but like that, something like that. And the whole purpose. And so tell me, she really got it, and that made me so happy. So what did you
Yeah.
discover from it?
Yeah, I loved this assignment because I think a lot of us learned there are a couple ways to make a color darker, right? You can add the complement, you can add black. The complement usually looks a bit nicer,
Mhm,
but it kind of ends there. But with this assignment, I realized, oh, I can make all of these different
mhm.
shades
I
and
should grab that one.
tones just by adding a little bit more white, adding a little bit more of the complement, adding back in the original color. And it was also just such a relaxing exercise. Lilla had us do red, but I did a lot more colors. I couldn't stop. It was so therapeutic. So yeah, that's great.
Two different reds. See, this is like a brighter, this is an orangier red. It's all about nuance. If I can teach you, look at those subtle colors, the beautiful. If that's the first step. And the second is to learn how to mix. Then you begin to see, okay, like to darken, not using black necessarily, not that
Hmm.
that's terrible, but to darken in other ways, to lighten and so forth with just primary white and complement.
Hmm.
And then which complement? Maybe for the red. So here's the little chart. So red is green. So, but what kind of green is it? Is it a bright green that you're mixing with? And you actually have a complete palette afterwards. And I discovered
Yeah.
a new one I loved. Um,
And I feel like
oh,
it just gets so much deeper than just the idea of adding the complement. Like this is something that a lot of us know, but this was just on a whole nother level. You know how I was just talking about my students, how they were just mixing their colors on their palette?
yeah.
And I, as their teacher, was like, why don't you want to make the project? Why don't you just do the thing? But after doing this Monday Mutes assignment, I completely understood, right? I was like, oh, it's like magic seeing this. Like Lena just said in the chat, you have a complete palette afterwards. That it
Yes.
was just magic. It was like
Hmm.
these 3 colors, really subtle variations. So yeah,
Yeah.
highly, highly recommend.
So this I'm going to show tomorrow in the live. By the way, you can still sign up, and I don't really want Substack to be like a sales pitchy or anything. I just wanted this like free. We chat,
Mhm.
and I really wanted a way. I have so much I want to talk to all of you about. There's so many things. So that's why we do this. But I just started this class after writing it for 6 months. It just started this week, and that's why I'm really excited. Plus, I don't think it's a bad thing to share it with you. And anyway, it ends, you can still sign up at makeartthatsells.com. It ends today, I think, the sign up, this week one. So this was the Matt's Prep. Okay, this was a free thing that we gave out as a sample of what you get. And what I did was, and what the assignment is you make the colors that reflect it. So one thing for those of you in the class, can you immediately tell that these colors go to this piece? Not that they go, let's take this,
Mhm.
not like it's not this. This is more subdued, similar, a lot of similar colors, but it's a softer palette. This is vivid. So, and then I color in this, I actually print out on 90-pound watercolor paper on my inkjet printer. And then I use the colors. So I just have all these teapots. Yeah, yeah. And then so you're going to have 12 of these,
Mm.
and they're all different. So those of you in the class, be sure that your piece, your this, really looks like this. Like if somebody said, which one does this go to? Here, let's take that.
This one?
Yeah, this is a piece of Katie's, and I'm going to do a little like review of her work. Look how beautiful this is. So, do you want to hold this thing? Okay, this is obvious, but which one does it go to? Okay, you want to clearly be able to know which one it goes to. So please be aware of that. You've gotten 3 of these this week already. You'll get a 4th one tomorrow and the big reveal. So that's that. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, do you have another question for me?
Yeah,
Did I even
actually,
answer the question?
I don't remember what it was.
I'm doing more
Oh,
watercolors.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
because of this too, for the
Mm-hmm.
class. Oh, yeah. And I'm teaching color in Portugal starting March 20th, 25th. That's with uptrack.com. And I'm also doing a color course there. So of course
That
I'm
sounds
doing
amazing.
a lot of paint. I know I want you to come, but she's going to be away. So do sign up for that. I'm closing sign up for that on the 15th of February. And I just met with the people at the beautiful retreat, the Quinta in Portugal. Did I say it's in Portugal?
Hmm.
And it's warm and sunny and palm trees. And they have a hot tub, which I didn't know about. And you can book a massage in advance.
That sounds lovely.
So if you want to get away from everything, and God knows
Mm.
we all do. Oh, this is what I want to talk about
Yeah.
too. I want to say how important it is to do art for 2 reasons.
Mm.
Number one, your mental health during this crazy time. And don't worry, it's not going to be as bad as we think. Okay? I believe that. I have reasons. But you want to focus on something beautiful, something for yourself, because the more you help your own mental health, the more you can be there for others. And you put, I just keep adding fingers.
There's just a lot of reasons to
There's
do
a
art.
lot of reasons, okay? And also, you're going to put beauty out there.
Hmm.
So it's important as a creative that you do this. All right. What were you going to say? Remember?
Um,
Or do you have a question?
yeah, I had two things. I was thinking about your influences and just finding inspiration in general. And I see
Mm-hmm.
we have a question in the Q&A
Oh,
box about
oh,
influences because
yeah.
the images that you found for Color Quest, I'm
Yes.
curious about, where can we find inspiration for color palettes as well, or just
Mm-hmm.
in general? They remind me of some work that I've seen on the public domain.
Oh,
So
right.
this is like
You
it
tell
feels
me.
like the biggest secret that people aren't talking about right now, is all the art that's available in the public domain. So like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City has Met Open Access. The Getty has one. There's something
Mm.
called Public Domain Review or Archive, something like that. And there's just all this art out there that you can look at for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And it can even be altered and like sold. And I mean, that's not what we're looking to do as artists
Right,
probably because we
right.
want to make our own art, but
Mm-hmm.
you can look at it for inspiration.
I
And
love that. I love that. That's
it's so
such a good
cool.
tip.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what do you do with it when you see an
Um,
image?
Well, I first discovered it because actually Adam and I were doing Adam Ming, who's here, he's another artist, and we have this drawing session called Art Gym. And I was looking for some inspiration for Art Gym because I wanted people to look at references, but I didn't want to do anything
Hmm.
against copyright, so I didn't want to just pull images off of Google. So
Hmm.
that's how I discovered it. So I use it a lot for reference drawing. It's really good for florals too, if you're looking for inspiration, because that's something that, people have been drawing florals
Yeah,
forever,
forever.
throughout all of time.
Yeah,
So yeah, I look
yeah,
at it for yeah, reference, inspiration,
it's so
colors.
great. And I love vintage and older historic because it people just had different aesthetics and different ideas of what was pretty and what to do, and it's fresh, it's very fresh. That's why I use for 11 years I've used vintage in my teaching. And it make like the very first assignment Pyrex. Remember
Mm,
the Pyrex? I don't know if you took Matt's A. What I want to say too, it's very important. In my courses, I use work that is not contemporary, not by another artist. It tends to be very vintage, obscure, um, photographs from my travels, like my
hmm
hotel in Paris, like the bar area. The chairs are just so beautiful and
mm,
lime, like a chartreuse and pink or something, and or my flat lays that I create for you. So we do not copy someone else's work. And the reason is
hmm
when you're famous, you don't want people copying your work. The other thing is people used to copy me when I was an illustrator because like that's a piece I did for Levi's. It's really huge and it's my lettering. And people tried to copy my lettering. And when was a speaker, people would say, "How do you feel about people copying you and my style of art?" I said, two things, no, three things. Here are the fingers again. I don't think anyone does my lettering as good as I do because it took me a long time to get it all figured out, and it's hard. It's not as easy as it looks. And they may do better for them or different, but they can't do me.
hmm
Number one. Number two, um, I just look ahead of what I want to do next. I don't look who's behind me. I don't care. Do your own thing. And when you copy somebody, you're not true to you. And you will not be a famous artist and get your own style and brand. So don't copy for a million reasons. And it's illegal. It's copyright infringement. It's effed up and it's bad karma. I think that was like
Yeah,
eight fingers.
that's good. Covered it all.
Hmm.
I think this feeds into a conversation about AI. Do we want to go there or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think a lot of people, I was out to brunch with some friends last weekend, and one of my friends, who's not an artist, he asked me if I was nervous about AI,
Right.
as an
Everybody.
illustrator.
Yeah.
But I said, not really, because I think AI is actually going to increase the value of hand-created art, right? It's going to
Mhm.
become more special
Yeah.
because not everybody can create it, just like we have now, right? Like we have all of these incredible artists, but just like you said, nobody can create exactly like them.
Hmm.
Also, like I love, I'm gonna hold this up. You
Okay.
made this, right?
I
This mug.
did.
I love handmade pottery.
Right.
I could go to a big box store and just buy a whole bunch of mugs, and that would be totally fine. But I love buying unique pieces like this.
Hmm.
So I think it's kind of the same with art. People are still going to love having work created by artists rather than work
Hmm.
just generated by AI. There's definitely a place that AI will be for sure.
For
But
sure.
the clients we want to be working with probably aren't the ones who are looking
Hmm.
for AI. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So that's
Uh,
kind of my take on it. What do you think?
Flashback to 1983 when I was in illustration school, grad school in San Francisco, and um, people were worried about computers that were just starting. And oh, I read a book. Didn't read the whole thing or much of it, but it did say the more that there's high tech, there will be high touch. I love that. And it's
Mm,
true. We're humans. the AI will do a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. It happens every time we have a new thing or new technology. Like before there were banks, there weren't bank robbers. Banks were great. They held your money. It grew your money, it made interest and but then there became bank robber. Like that's just the way, yin and yang, okay? AI can clean up your writing. If you ask it, give me, if you're a writer, 10 tips on doing your taxes, it can write a really good piece on that. But if you write about your story of doing taxes and why it was so hard, and then you figured something out and you went to a friend's house with coffee and she showed you how to do whatever, and that's freaking taxes. That's not even like interesting. And then you bring yourself, your stories, your experience, your personality. And that's the same with art. If you wanted to do a very generic, and it's all right now very painterly because to smush things together, it's all very mushy and blurry. But it it can't do what you can do and also your brand. What I encourage people to do is like what Katie's doing and Adam Ming. Like not just your art, but have your whole personality, your brand,
Mm.
social media or your stories. If you don't want to be on a screen, you write stories. You write more. It's more about your whole personality, which is great. You're not just a piece of art. Um, I'm not saying this is right for everyone. Some people just want to do art and don't want to put themselves out there. That's fine too. There are no rules. It's the Wild West. Okay.
So I kind of had this weird revelation yesterday when I was writing my
Mhm.
Substack. I thought that a bunch of opportunities I had gotten were sort of random, but then I realized they were because I was existing within these art spaces, which meant that I was connecting with different people,
Mhm.
right? Like I took a class with you and then we got
Right.
to know each other, and
Right.
now we're doing this, which is really cool. And then Adam and I were in the same critique group, and now we're
Oh,
doing art gym together, which is also super cool.
one,
But as I was going through all of these, because I'm a pretty introverted person, like
yeah,
I have built up the skill of coming on Zooms because I've done that
same here.
with the just different experiences.
You've been
Um,
forced to in a way by
yeah.
your own.
But as somebody who normally gets really nervous at being in front of a group of people,
Mhm.
just realizing that even just being in these different art spaces can still be a type of networking. So, like if you're taking a class, just be an active participant, right? So, like
Mm.
post, comment in the chat. It doesn't always have to be networking in the sense of, um, hi Lilla, I'm Katie. This is what I do, and like have my little elevator pitch. You know what
Right.
I mean? It can
Hello.
just
I
yeah. And because then even like in my critique group, I ended up getting a job because somebody else in my critique group had to pass on the job. So they
know.
suggested my
Wow.
name, right? So it's not like I was talking in front of a group of people or having to like put myself out there in a really uncomfortable way, but just
Oh,
by making a
get
network
out there
of
and
artists. Yeah.
do you hear
So,
that? That's really interesting. Yeah, my mom, who's 102, always said when I was starting out as an illustrator, honey, one thing leads to the next.
mm,
It's so true. Just get out there. Just
yeah,
do stuff. You made these groups, you do things, you took maths, you do this and that, you come over, now we do this. You know, you just don't know what's going to come next, but
hmm
it's not going to happen if you don't put things out and take some risks.
absolutely. And there will be some things that there's nothing that happens after, right? It just, that's it.
Well, you don't know,
It's always worth
right?
doing.
And you don't know if
Hmm.
somebody's when I was an agent, people would send me, I did not get back to all my submissions because I got thousands a year of people submitting wanting to be represented by me. And I felt terrible, especially in the beginning. I was like, "Ah, but I can't. I have my artists, I have the business and so forth. But I want you to know people look at your work, agents, art directors, editors, they look at the work and they can't get back to you. But I would be like, ooh, I like that. And I may never hear from them again. But then people that I did hear from more and more, like I told Adam Ming, you know, he was this close to being repped by me, and then he went with somebody else. I'm like, damn, I wanted Adam, but it's all good because, as long as he's repped by a good company and he's doing
He's
great.
doing
He's
amazing.
doing amazing. Yeah. And now, but you don't know who's looking at you.
And
Oh, can you tell us about the show No Mercy piece behind you? Yeah, that I did for Levi's. It's really big. What is that, like 4 feet? It was in all
Mhm.
the, so Levi's was huge at the time. I don't think it's that big anymore, but it was huge. They had a jillion stores. It was really cool. They were out of the ad agency was in San Francisco, Foot Cone Building, really big. Ad agencies were huge. Okay, imagine life before the internet. Everything was real life. It was great. And so I got this big gig to do art for point of purchase in the stores. So, in other words, signage in the stores. And look, see now that I have my new cabinet. And then I did, so I just got this whole beautiful new cabinet.
It's
And
really nice.
and I have a drawer like this big and I pull it out and I have a whole bunch of tear sheets. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way.
I want to
So,
look through everything.
okay, we can pull stuff out. So then I got a gig to um do this was in all the magazines and before the internet magazines were the internet and boy they paid great for illustration and so I got this gig and look at this like 4-page ad.
That's so cool.
Isn't that, but look what I found, the rough for it. If you want to hold, look at
Yeah.
this. That's the rough
That's
because I
so cool
worked
to
this
see.
big.
Yeah.
I worked really big.
Is that for this
That's
one?
that one. That's my rough. I faxed it to the client. And the client even flew out from San Francisco to see how it's going. I'm
Really?
like, okay, that was a waste of money. You didn't need to do that, but okay, cool.
Were you
And he's like
in
on the phone.
were you in Boston at the time?
I was here.
Mm.
Yeah, I was here then.
Maybe they just
That
wanted to
was,
visit Boston.
yeah, 1995. Still holds up pretty well, don't you think?
For sure. You said you did some work for 17 magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I
This is my
feel like
first job.
I used to get that magazine. I
I'm sure
probably saw it.
you did. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think anybody sees my work. And when I was really nervous, I would pretend no one sees my work.
Mhm.
Classes come with access scoops. Oh, yeah, that's nice, Adam. Oh, that's Adam. Good. Should we do some of
Yeah, let's check
these?
out some of these.
Okay.
Um, there's one. I actually have this same question.
Okay, ask. Shoot.
So the question from Carla Stelling. Usually say who said it?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Carla. Thanks for asking a question. Do you recommend getting an agent for licensing or reaching manufacturers on our own?
You answer that first. You want to?
I
I
don't
think
know.
oh, you
I
don't.
don't think I
Okay.
know.
Okay, that's
It's
okay.
licensing is something that I'm really interested in, and I
Yeah,
have
especially
reached
with those
out.
pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have reached out to a lot of different companies, and I send my work, but I
Yeah.
haven't gotten. I've only licensed through Minted through their competitions so far.
Okay.
Minted has great competitions if anybody's interested in
Oh,
submitting your art
and
there.
they do great
They
stuff.
do,
Yeah.
yeah. They have a great artist community. They do a good job with it. They
hmm
put together critique groups and it's really supportive. But yeah, that's the only licensing deal I have so far, and I'd love
That's
to do more.
amazing. If they picked you up from it?
I submitted and one of my pieces won. So now it's licensed with them.
Okay. And what you're hearing here is she took a risk. I'm sure she was nervous
Mm.
and hey, Alona, and she got picked up, which means validation that her work is of a certain level and it will only get better over time. Number one, the more you get picked up and get paid, the more confidence you get. The minute I got paid for illustration, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm confident. What is this
Mm.
feeling? I'm feeling confidence. 30 years ago. And I'm like, oh, now I get how people feel with jobs when they get paid for what they do.
Like a
So,
biweekly paycheck? Yeah,
yeah,
we don't
but
get
for
that.
your art, you
Yeah,
get
it's
paid, it
cool.
builds. So things build,
Mm-hmm.
but let me explain in the beginning when you start out, it's the most exciting. Like
Yeah.
you're so excited you got the midget thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're never more excited than in the beginning, but you're also scared and nervous and it's hard, but you're
Yeah.
excited. Later, you have all this work and you're busy, but it's not, and you have thrilling moments for sure. It is actually, it's all kind of thrilling the whole time, but up and down, you have times like, oh my God, can I do this piece? Or lots of feelings. Okay, let me circle back to what I was going to say, which is, what was the question?
About licensing. But
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
good comment in the chat too that I want to address.
I was offered predators. Agents got would have helped, ended up not signing. Okay. Um, Having an agent is great. It's difficult to get one, so you want to make your work as great as you can and appropriate for licensing. What does licensing mean? So licensing, I'm trying to see if I have anything. Oh, I do. Because my new drawers. Oh, you know what? I should have a drawer just. So this is a project that we did with Susie Altman for Chronicle, and it's stickers.
I love the colors.
I mean, she's just such an incredible, yeah, right?
Wow. These are cool.
I know. So they're all these are all stickers. Um, do you have something? So licensing can be if you do an existing piece of art and it's picked up and put on mugs and products and so forth. It can also be like this, which is a commission. They saw Susie's work and said, can you do a whole bunch of stickers and a cover and lettering for our product? And that's a commission. Licensing is generally used to mean repeat patterns on products. But licensing, really, in the truest sense, is anytime you permit someone to use your work, they are licensing the right to use their work. So even now, I'm nerding out, but I licensed my art for the use for this campaign for the life of the campaign. You don't need to know that. That won't be on the test.
Versus a full buyout,
There's
right? So they
what
just like if they wanted to use it in other markets, they would need to pay you more.
So you can license, uh, yeah, right. Okay. A full buyout is a flat fee, one and done. That's what you get. Licensing generally refers to a royalty. They're licensing the right to, um, but generally you're licensing the right to anything. But yeah, people generally mean, okay, I should stop nerding out.
It's
It's,
interesting though. I like hearing about all
oh,
this,
do you?
but probably
Okay,
because I do all of this work on my own,
right.
right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what are all the nuances? You have to be able to
Hmm.
understand these differences.
Right.
Otherwise, like Kristen, sorry, it's small, I can't see. Kirsten said there was an issue
Credit.
maybe with this licensing deal she was going to do, and she was able to catch that it wasn't good. And you do have to be careful.
Mhm.
So just review contracts and be really sure before you sign anything.
And hi, Angela. Angela Caldwell says, what strategies do you use to balance marketability and personal
Mm.
expression? My style was kind of avant-garde, more European than American in the 80s, more feminine than everything was masculine. Who watched the Grammys?
Yes.
Women, boom, people of color. Oh my God. And my husband, who is not that aware of popular culture. He's a doctor, so he doesn't, but he watched the Grammys with me. I told him how incredible this is. He said, what did it used to be like? And I'm like, Mick Jagger and all these guys. It was men. Rock, popular music was men, and how far we've come. Well, when I did this back then, everything was very masculine and a sort of an aggressive look. And I had to kind of pass. I had to make my work, like you see the lettering there is really edgy and aggressive, but yet I had to hold on to my own self and it depended on the client, but I did push the market. And then when I started Make Art That Sells, I was very influenced by the British illustrators who were much more feminine and had a
Mhm.
delicacy. And I tried to bring that to the US. I don't think I've ever told that
Yeah,
story,
that's
but that was
interesting.
really important to me as a
Uh-huh.
feminist move. Um, when I started the agency, I started with five of my artists that I'd been teaching here in the studio. And I knew this was provocative. Then I had like 10 artists, they were all women. I knew this was provocative. And you're thinking, Lila, what do you mean? What would be provocative? I had somebody call up a guy, all aggressive. What, you only take women? I knew I was going to be asked that. And I said, I thought about this. I said, instead of being bullied and intimidated, which was his goal, I said, I just take work I like any other agent.
That's good.
Yeah. There were agencies that only took men. That's how it was.
Hmm.
I called up, here I was working for Vanity Fair, GQ, name every, New York Times,
Hmm.
like the greatest companies in the world. And I called up an agent. This was in the 80s. I wanted representation. I called up and he said, what are you calling for? I said, I'm an illustrator. He heard my voice that I was a woman. I'm an illustrator and I'm interested in representation with your company. He said, and I quote, we don't represent women. You believe that?
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was a hard time. And I was supposed to not say anything
Yeah, what did you do?
and just say, oh, okay, thank you, kind sir.
That's
But, I am less than and you are more than. I said, oh, why is that? Which is really uppity. You don't ask the oppressor, why you're oppressing, why you're doing this. I said, oh, why is that? And I swear, I quote, he said, because they're too emotional, with emotion in his voice.
art has never had emotion in it before. Like, why would you?
He
Anyways.
couldn't count on, women were too emotional. This was a common thought thinking back then in jobs too, why women weren't promoted and so forth, with emotion in his voice at him. Yeah. Thank you, Steph. Yeah, isn't that a good story? I love
It
it.
is. I'm
I love,
glad you shared that.
thank you. I had to fight hard to get to where I am now.
Hmm.
But the beauty is, I'm where I am now, and now I have stories to share. And that's why I'm with my buddy, who I'm going to take out to lunch afterwards for helping me do all this,
You know,
because I have stories.
I know. So I wrote down all these. I have tons of questions here, everyone, just to brainstorm. We've done one, by the way. So we have a lot. But Lilla, look, and Lilla hasn't seen these, but I'm going to show her. I wrote, tell me a story of when you brought down the patriarchy.
Okay, check that off.
So we've done two now.
Mhm.
But I hadn't ever heard that full story. And this
Yeah,
wasn't something that we planned to
no,
talk about.
I
It's
have so,
just,
that's why I wanted to do this. I have
yeah.
so many stories, and if I can help, and I'm just really excited to have this. Um, Look at this number we have.
Hmm.
Wow, that's nice.
And I
Uh,
think it's interesting to think about too now, like like you are a woman who is dominating in this space now, right? Like you've been a successful artist, you had agency, you're with Matt's, like
mhm,
everything. And so now I feel like it's what do we do going forward? Like how do we make sure that like the next group who maybe isn't feeling as represented, like how can we bring them in? And I feel like you've really opened
mhm.
up a space where people can feel really welcome
Mm,
and we can get that work done.
I love that.
So,
Well, two things. Number one is when uh, as I say in my picture book courses, one of the most progressive places, and when I say progressive, I mean empathy, kindness, caring, giving space for others, being open to other people's stories. That's all empathy is. Like, what is it like to be trans? I don't want to judge. Let's hear what your life is like. What is it like to be this kind of person in that setting? That's all. Just open and listen.
Mhm.
That's being progressive or empathetic. That's all. So, and I say the most progressive, one of the most progressive places that's happening right now is in picture books. It's so true.
Mhm.
We've done so many on kindness, on LGBTQ, on name anything that needs to expose people. People become prejudiced, biased, limited when they're just not exposed to different people. That's all.
I loved being a classroom teacher because we were always getting different kids' books in.
Mm,
And I agree. I would always be like,
right?
I can't believe that like we have a kids' book to talk about this topic. And we would read it and the kids would have questions and we'd
Yeah.
have conversations. And it just, I love that the next generation is
Hmm.
being raised with these ideas.
It's really profound what's
Hmm.
happening. It's great. And don't worry about the book banning. You just hear the bad stories. That's not the majority of the country and the world, okay? It's not the majority. Books are getting out there, and we can't fix every problem in the world. We just can't. But we do our bit. So
Hmm.
that's kid books. Okay, and then the other thing is when oh, here's a story.
Yeah.
When I started Matt's, I knew I was going to be wrong for a lot of people. I knew there'd be some
Mm.
pushback. Um, I wasn't, my work was, so for example, instead of saying Christmas, I said winter holiday. That was the thing. Instead of big fat white Santas, which you saw at all the trade shows, this was before your time there, but it didn't, people were trying to dumb down their work to be commercial. And this
Mm.
is going to circle back to that question. Never lower the culture, never dumb down just to make money. I took risks and tried to uplift and educate my clients and show cooler work, solve the problem, but do something more elevated. That's how you'll get famous too.
Mm.
If you try to just do like this sort of ugly, it was like these ugly white fat Santas. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? If you're older, you know. And I'm like, on every level, that's so offensive. And do something beautiful. Assume that people do want beautiful things. That makes sense.
So I think that
Thank you,
comes back
Brenda.
to the licensing question, right? How do you balance these
Hmm.
two different styles, making it commercial, but also
Hmm.
making it you?
It's very easy, and it's not easy. So here's a beautiful napkin. Glad we had
I
this.
know, it's great. It's so convenient.
Okay. So what's the purpose of a napkin? Paper napkin. Type in, why would you buy a paper napkin? Thank you, Steph. Never dumb down the culture to make money, right? Because you have to then live with that. What's the purpose? To wipe your face. Okay, you're having hostess gift, add elegance while dining, decorate my table, set a mood. If you understand the purpose of the object, then you understand what it needs. So why can't you do beautiful flowers in your style? And maybe it'll be soft, sort of like this is sort of like ladylike,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But couldn't it be like this, maybe in a way, like those little teapots? Why not?
Those would be cute.
Those would be cute. I have I did lipsticks on for a tissue many years ago, and each lipstick is like sexy, like and they're just wonky like that, whatever. They're over there somewhere. Um, what was I saying? Oh, so if you understand the purpose of the thing, here, what's the purpose? Well, what could you put on here? Type in what you could put on this. What art could you put on this to make if a client, or for your portfolio, what would you put on here? What do you like? Type in. Type in the chat. What would you put on there?
I would probably just do a cute little floral design. But honestly, I love pottery that just has stripes and dots, which is not something that would be licensed.
No, they can do that in-house.
Yeah.
A cat, cute animal, insects,
Oh, insects is
flowers,
fun.
bee. Plant me some flowers lettering. Yep, a name,
Hmm.
a face,
Hmm.
flowers and butterflies. Yeah, could be anything.
I like the bee.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice? I love this matte finish and glaze. Yeah. Creating collections for home decor is the course I teach with Margot Tanto. And actually, it's for sale. You can do that. And then we're having a live review.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll look at the work in a few months and review a bunch of it.
Does that come with a mood board or a trend board?
Yeah. And
Something
I
like that?
just did a brand new one.
Mm.
I think I did.
I find those so helpful
Good.
with
I
this
love
balance
those.
of like, what do I want to draw? I usually want to draw florals of some kind.
Hmm.
And then, but what kind of florals, what kind of colors are we
Hmm.
looking for? So those
Hmm.
boards help so much.
Should we let me look at these
Sure.
pieces.
So
Look at
these,
those too.
yeah, Lilla saw these because I had just printed these out as prints. I had painted them in the spring.
These are the original
Yeah,
paintings.
those are the originals. And my husband is so sweet. He said that he wanted to put all six of these in his office at work. So
Oh.
that's why I got them printed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have probably done anything with them.
Did you adjust levels of
I
this?
did, yeah. So I thought that would be really interesting to
Yeah.
show.
Hmm. So this is her original, and this is the piece, and you adjusted levels.
Yeah. Do you want me to hold one of them
Oh yeah,
so
that'd
you
be
can see
great.
better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a really pale blue background on this one. It's kind of hard to see. But whenever I scanned it in,
Hmm.
I changed it. So I changed it to this darker blue in
Hmm.
Photoshop. And I actually just selected everywhere all around the flowers.
Mm.
And I had to paint with the digital brush in between some of these petals because it was hard to select them because
Mm.
the values weren't so different. So when you just use the tool that can select it with the magic wand, it wasn't separating it. But
Mhm.
look at what a difference that makes with the dark
It's
background.
so, Lena wants to know, was it gouache?
Yeah, it was gouache and colored pencil.
So here's what I want to say. I love that she adjusted the levels. I love that. You can see this would get lost. It's delicate. It's beautiful. It's even paler in real life. And this would get lost on the screen in a
Hmm.
shop and so forth. So having your work bolder is great. And that's what clients look for. You may wonder, why is work so bold? I remember as an illustrator when I started out, I did things very pale. And I think because I was nervous, when you put
Mm.
down something dark, you're really making it's risky. And um, but more and more I got more work for the when I showed brighter work, I got more work. That's because people it's more confident, your work's more confident. And also if your work is on the cover of a book or if it's a card in a bookstore, it needs to pop in some way. It doesn't all have to be bold and garish. Okay, so this is beautiful. So what I love is look at the subtlety of colors in the hydrangeas or whatever. You see, she's got a lot of different things going on, but all within that yellowy pink thing. It's very nice. She's used photo reference, and was this from a royalty?
No, this was actually before I discovered all the public domain stuff. I think I don't know where I looked at for the jar. But sometimes I use Unsplash. Have you ever heard of that? That's
No.
another great website, Unsplash. I know a lot of people use that. It's all royalty free public images. They have a lot of photographs that are nice
Mm,
for reference. So I'm guessing I looked there. I did these back in the spring, so
I know it's
it's
so
been a
pretty.
while.
So what she's done here is she's used a piece. Well, I'll just talk to you. I love that you show us an interesting um, jar with some interesting typography, and she just hasn't used just a red glass, a red shape, which is fine. It's like, oh, Lila says we can't use red glass. No, no, but it's more interesting every time you can bring more interest in. It's more interesting. I love the composition, um, and I I love how she's done the leaves. What I would say to her to go from great to even greater
Yeah, what can I do?
is get reference on leaves,
Mm.
make your leaves even more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So some leaves are small, some are bigger. She does have one turned. What are the
Yeah.
veins doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are the colors on the leaf? Give us more like you did with this.
That's a great
What
call.
more can you do? The same with this. Do they get thinner? They do get a little smaller as they go up. Do they
Mm-hmm.
get very delicate and thinner? More observation. We talk about nuance in color in the color class, but also here. What nuance can you put in here? And then with this, what you can do is I love that you've used a specific jar. Was there even more specificity? I'm looking around. Do I have oh yeah, um
Some of those
like
tins up there.
yeah, do you want to grab I don't know which one. I'm glad I own every vintage item known to
It's a
human.
treasure trove. This one has letters on it. The other ones
Yeah,
don't. But
get
this one
two.
has leaves we can look
Yeah, yeah,
at.
yeah. That, yeah, and the German one. This is fun. Who's having a good time? Go to vintage shops too and vintage fairs and junk
All
fairs.
right, look at these cool
Okay.
things.
So, what if you really got something very specific? Now, not this because the castles, it's not a I wouldn't use this, but just to show you. And then um look at the specificity. This is actually a painting, vintage painting. So look at the hydrangea, but look at the leaves. Look at the how are they attached to the stem?
Mm,
And what happens here? And how are they attached there with those green things poking up? And there's like a bud, so you can easily just use reference of that kind of thing. But what I want to say here is the lettering. She can have so much more fun with the lettering.
I know lettering, I'm so scared of.
Did you take my lettering
I
class?
did, and it was so helpful. All those worksheets, they were
Yeah,
great. But then still, when I go to a paper, I'm
yeah.
like, well, I don't know. It's handwriting or bubble letters.
You have all
I
the
know.
reference from there.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that and really push yourself. That's the thing. To make great work, every portion of your piece should be pushed
Mm.
as much as you can. See everything as an opportunity to do something more. Um, And then you could render a little of the red. So
Mm.
more shading. It's an opportunity then not to show realism, but maybe she can darken this with a bit of green,
Mm-hmm.
the red, a bit of the green to darken, and lighten with a bit of white and get the beautiful nuances like you've done here.
Yeah.
You see that? So, how about next time we chat? Do you have time to redo it? Maybe not in time for next
I
time.
can try. I mean,
At
these
some point.
edits, what I love about working with gouache on paper
Yeah.
and then scanning it in
Yeah,
is
do it and just
I
get it
can
in.
do those
Totally.
edits pretty quickly. So,
Totally.
yeah, we'll see.
Even just one part of it, maybe,
Yeah.
like the red of the vase. Next, shadow.
Mm,
Shadow. It's an opportunity. Instead of thinking should, forget should. I hate should. My life is not should, mostly. It's I want to. I want to teach people this. I want to do this in my art. I want. I want to make a shadow.
hmm.
What will that do to the blue down here? You'll get this beautiful muddy blue. I want to make that muddy blue, right?
Yeah, you can see I on the original here how delicate I was with the shadow because I was just scared to mess it up,
Yeah,
right? Because that was one of
right.
the last steps, and I was like,
I
oh,
know.
just a little
I
color
know.
pencil.
I feel that.
So I just need to go at it with some confidence and just, see what happens.
Yeah, I
I
don't
know
know.
Photoshop. If I mess it up, I can fix it.
You know, yes, that's right. Or do it on a layer. Do it on
Yeah,
another piece,
yeah.
bring it over. She could
Mm-hmm.
actually do a shadow on another piece, bring it over,
Yeah.
and go into layers and multiply.
Mm-hmm.
Then select multiply, and it'll just bring the background color through.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. You know that about me? That's great. I think we should
Thanks.
review a piece of your work each week. Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be fun.
I th
And you know what's interesting about these? So I
Mhm.
made them for this competition and they were finalists, which was really exciting, but they
Mhm.
didn't win. And then I did submit them to another art call and I got the feedback that they were like good, but just like not exactly what they were looking for.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
then hearing these
Mm-hmm.
specific changes is
Mm-hmm.
so useful,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Use reference.
Yeah,
And I don't want to show the others because we could maybe do them another time.
sure.
Should we? Well, it's pretty
It's
similar.
up to
I think
you.
we'll show them now because it's pretty similar stuff. This is just beautiful. Well, here you've done shadowing. So look how beautiful this is. Now here's what I'd say here. Make it bigger on the page.
Mm,
You you don't want too much of this because look already. Can you cover the other
yeah.
portion? Um here. Oh wait, here. This way.
Yeah, maybe that's easier.
See, it becomes more interesting too.
hmm
And think of it as real estate. Okay, you know, real estate is like so much a square foot, right?
Mm.
Every piece should be valuable and worth the money. And when a client has this on the cover of a book on let's say this is a cover, floral essences for blah, blah, blah. Well, if they put the typography there, how can I say this better? You just want every square inch to be worthwhile and valuable. So that's why I think she could crop that in. But it's gorgeous. Her colors are beautiful. I love her delicacy and tenderness. And then I think a lot of it implies. But look what she did to this jar. That jar is so interesting, and she has more modulation. Beautiful.
I remember taking an art class whenever I was a kid and I painted this bird and I was so proud of it. But the instructor just kept talking about how delicate all the brush strokes were. So maybe that's the same as what I do now.
Yeah.
Remember you were talking about your style's
When you're
always been
little.
there?
Yeah,
So
always 100%.
everyone go back and see your art from when you were a
This
kid.
is gorgeous. What's so nice about this is the shape of this shape is so wonderful and all these shapes. And she's gone kind of flat with the flowers, but the red of the flowers and the red brown, it's just this is a limited palette, beautiful colors. And you know
Thanks.
what? I'd like to see more of this mush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only one I think that the background was two colors. I think oh no, this one had two colors. But yeah, all
And
of the rest were one. But is that what you mean? Like the pinks and
yeah,
the
and
yellows, the
painterly,
orange? Yeah,
you can
I
look.
like that texture.
I mean, you can mush the background. This is just experiments, but there's no rules. Love that. That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love how each one is a different color story. This is why I teach the color class.
Mm,
So people have, and you've got some really pretty color stories. Okay,
yes.
lettering. She's great.
I
It's
did a little
beautiful.
bit on that one. You
You did
see
a little.
the little
Yes, you
things?
did. That's good. You're right. You're right. You did. That's good. It's pretty. That's nice. And she's gotten reference. Look, she's not just, I love these red flowers. Look at those. Look at the colors in those petals. Look at that, especially that one, all the different nuance. Beautiful. And each is a different, she's used reference. Tell us about how you got the reference. And I'll hold this one up
Yeah, I
for all
think
these. Like,
yeah.
do you have a book of flowers or
No, but I
you
do
make
try to sketch flowers often. I do have a sketchbook
hmm.
that I have dedicated to it. A lot of it's just line work. Um, but I like Unsplash. Unsplash is really
Oh,
good.
what is Unsplash?
It's a website that has a bunch of um, license free, royalty free, something like that.
Hmm,
Photos and artwork, but mostly photos. So it's really good for reference drawing. And if I was doing these now, I probably also look at the artwork on the public domain because
hmm.
looking at scientific images like
Like
this,
botanical, yeah.
yeah, can really help you understand like, oh, like where
Hmm. And
the
they're
leaf in
clear.
the stem, yeah, where did the
Hmm.
lines go? So I don't copy those, but it's like you look at a specific part, you say, oh, I'm having trouble with
Hmm.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
these hydrangeas, the flowers all overlap. But on my hydrangeas, I left space between all of
Hmm.
them. because I
Mhm.
couldn't figure out how to make the
Sweet. Very delicate. As is you, as are you.
hmm.
It should reflect, your art should reflect your personality, but it takes time. Well, let's just look at all these gorgeous, look at the butterfly on there. That's a nice touch.
And there's some ladybugs down below
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I was thinking about
So
whoever said they put insects on that little flower pot.
this is actually new.
Oh
It's not
yeah,
vintage, but I got it in a store in Belmont.
it's really pretty.
I paid that for it? Look at that. Ridiculous.
Well, it's really beautiful, so
It
it's worth
was worth it. I
it.
had to have it.
Yep.
I had to. Okay, let's
Yeah,
look at
should we
these.
look at some questions?
Yes. Okay. Um, okay. Oh, done. Why did I retire from the agency? Because I'm 70 and I did it for 30 years and I just really wanted to focus on my teaching, which I loved so, so much. I loved being an agent. I still agent people individually. I do small, I, well, oops. I I agent individually and I support and help people in that way. And I will be offering something soon and I can say no more, or the Mats team
Yeah, we'll take this.
will have to, I don't know what. Uh, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I've spilled as much beans as I can. Um, so I'm using my expertise to share with you in this way. I had these two businesses that I founded, both of them. I co-founded Make Art That Sells with Beth, and then they grew over the years, 30 years with the agency and 11 with Matt's. They were both full-time jobs, you know. And I have had amazing team for the agency, have amazing team for Matt's, and I could just do what I do best. And that's advice for you. Delegate everything you can. Get somebody to clean and use that time to make more art and work on your career. Delegate to family members or whatever. um, as much as you can. Be efficient with the crap so you do what you do best, and then that's what you do, and then you have a great career. Okay, so that's why I retired from the agency. That answered it, right?
Mhm.
Oops. Answer live. Okay, I would love to know if you do morning pages. So what are morning pages? I know it's from her book, whatever.
You kind of
Which
do this, I feel like, with your
is that what it
journal.
is?
I've never done morning pages, but I know a few people who I've seen in the
Mm-hmm.
chat. I think maybe Adam does morning pages. Is Jen here? She does some bullet journaling too. Maybe someone could tell us
Oops.
exactly what morning
I,
pages are.
yeah, I know it's like a specific thing. I just write in my journal in the morning, most mornings, and I have a little portable watercolor kit with a water brush pet thingy. So everything is right there. It's on a little table with my coffee, and it's really great mental health. I
Mhm.
can write anything. I can make a gratitude list, which transforms me to, if I'm sort of, oh yeah, Julia Cameron.
Mm.
Um, yeah, stuff like that. I couldn't do it when I was raising kids, because mornings were nuts. Mm. Um, Adam Ming. When working with different art directors, each has their own requirements. How does an artist return to their style, voice, and not be permanently influenced by the feedback?
Mm.
You just have to be a badass. Delete. You know, such a good question. We, we want to do what we love, but we're aware of the cultural context of what's selling, what maybe, and then there's what we perceive an art director to want. First of all, Adam, here's the answer in a nutshell. When you first get a job, ask them, what piece of mine on my website is it that you were drawn to, that you would like me, the style for me to do this in, but only have work on your site that you want to do in that, continue to do. And because I did watercolor, I did oil paint, I did cut paper, Pantone adhesive paper. I did um, pastels a lot. So I needed to know certainly what medium. And then that gives you sort of your true line. Years ago, I was like, no, this is like too edgy. They're not going to like it. So I said, Lilla, do a piece that you think they will like, and then do the piece that is what you really want to do and show them and let them pick. Well, I didn't, and I'm going to say the opposite. Never do that. Never show a piece you don't like
Mm.
because everybody always says they'll pick that one and you're screwed because it's your brand. But I did that. I didn't show it to them, but I realized I don't know if they're going to like the one I think they're going to like because I can't read their minds. And maybe, other pieces in their magazine look like this. You cannot know what they want. Number two, they hired you. And number three, I loved the piece that I loved. I showed it to them, and 99.9% of the time, they would take that because that's why they hired me. And if they didn't like it, then I'm the wrong person. Or if it's a tiny tweak, I can do that. Stick to your guns. Don't cave. You don't need the client that badly, Adam. They need you.
Mm.
And you can tell them, you can say, look, here's why I believe in this piece. I love it. I'm really proud of it. And when you submit a piece, say, I'm really happy with this. I hope you are too. Because you want to know, if I'm an art director, I want to know that they think it's good, that the artists, think it's good. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If you send me, let's say I'm the art director, you send me a piece, I'm really happy with it, but you say, I hope you are too, show some respect, but you're not caving.
Mhm. Yeah,
Water break.
that's great advice. I'm trying to think if I've ever said that whenever I've sent off work. I think I usually just leave it totally open and I'm like, here it is. But I like the idea of putting in a little bit of how I'm feeling about it, because then it can go both ways, right? You can either be like, I'm feeling really good about this, hope you are too. Or if you're feeling stuck at some point, you can ask them if they have an idea. No, don't do it.
I'm not opinionated. Um, I don't know. Depends on the context of the
Hmm.
situation, but certainly establish early on which piece of mind do you like. And or you can say, I'm thinking of doing it in this style, Is that what you're thinking? And sell it. I think it would be so gorgeous in this style because it's going to be like refreshing and kind of wonky and I feel like it's lively, which reflects the manuscript or the whatever, sell your what you want to do. Teach them about your style. They don't know your style. They don't know what's in your head. You advocate for you. They're not the artists. And B, have some audacity. I'm trying to use a good word instead of a swear. Okay.
I think that's important though, even for artists earlier in their career when you're still developing your style. I remember I accepted this one commission of it was a portrait of two people and their pet, and I had shown them my portfolio. It's all very kid book style,
Mhm.
and they just kept wanting more realistic, more realistic.
You're
And
the
at
wrong
the
person.
end, like
Yeah.
it was awful.
Yeah.
I hated the work.
Right.
They didn't like the work.
Yeah.
Right. So from then on
Right.
out, anytime someone would ask for a pet portrait, a portrait of themselves, I would say, yes, however, this is what it will look like, only if you like these.
Love that.
And it's been so helpful.
Love
So
that.
even when your portfolio is still developing, I think that it's
Hmm.
important to communicate that.
Love that. It's so true. And people will respect that. Have some audacity.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. How to talk to your art. How to talk about your art. That's another class, says Adam.
Hmm.
Well, that's what we're here for. Okay. Um, can you share some of your art influences, please? And I think that's good for another time, maybe.
And we touched on it a little bit when you were talking about vintage and some other
Yeah,
things.
I mean, I I was really lucky in the 70s. I went I went up to California, which was this feminist, anti-war progressive LGBTQ, which we didn't have the initials for yet. And it wasn't even obvious. Wasn't even the word, was there the word gay then? But it was all happening in the hippie movement. That's why I went. And the hippie movement was a place where women could break free of being like madmen women and just in a little box. And I'm getting to a point which is I forget what
Your
was
influences?
my influences. Oh,
Probably
so
a
I go to
theme
this
there.
art school in California. They have a course on women's art history. What? I can't tell you how radical that is. I need to give you context to explain. Let me just say that the art history text, the Jansen text, the spine is this fat, had only Mary Cassatt in it, one woman, okay, in this whole thing. And it was like Renaissance to modern or something. Or maybe it was ancient to modern, contemporary. No, that's what it was. Okay. And here was a course. It was radical. It was dangerous to do such a thing. You're like, Lilla, what do you mean dangerous? Whenever you threaten the status quo, you're either belittled, ridiculed, or the recipient of anger, like the guy who called up and said, "Well, you're only representing women," you know. So I that here it was, the 70s. I learned Frida Kahlo. I learned all these amazing, obscure, beautiful women doing cool stuff, and I resonate
Resonating. Mm-hmm.
resonated with the aesthetic. Okay, that's enough
Mm-hmm.
about influences, but this is fun. Okay, do you recommend? Oh, yeah. So Carla, back to do you recommend getting an agent for licensing or reaching manufacturers on your own? Do both, do everything and see what happens and keep improving your work because the best promotion is great art.
Mm.
Great art's the best. Just keep making, do more work, keep learning, and you'll get good. Shona says, do I have a favorite client? I have a lot of favorite ones. 30 years as an agent and a dozen more as an illustrator. Carla says, a fabric company sent me a contract and says the designs I'll send them, they would have all the rights. It's a company that just pays 10% of their sales. Oh, so 10% is typical for fabric companies. They would have all rights. That means you can't sell it to anyone else, license it to anyone else. Um, it depends. Are they a major great company? Can you say, can we negotiate the contract so I can't license it to any other fabric company? But what if Anthropology wants it on ceramic mugs? You know, it really does, it actually only helps your brand because if people see it in Anthro, they're going to want to buy it in the fabric shop, and it allows me to continue to make more money. You don't want to say you're prohibiting me from making money, but in another way, you say it would allow me to increase income. And that's what I would really prefer. They don't need to own all rights. They don't. They need just, and so what you say for the life of the product, so as long as they keep manufacturing that fabric, they can have the exclusive right to in Bolt fabric store fabric. That's what they make. If they also make art on, if they also sell mugs with art on it, give them the right to mugs if they're going to put it on the mugs. Have a conversation, but you don't need to tie up the whole thing. Now, if they do say, if they're an amazing company and they do say, look, that's what we do, and our royalties are really good, typically use, and you can say, what do you think I stand to make in royalties? Typically, if you can give me a range, and they will tell you, hopefully, if you think it's worth it, that's okay. You've educated them, and then just keep making more and more art and license to others. And maybe next time when they ask, they say, look, have you thought at all about limiting the rights? That's really important to me. And when you become such a hotshot, then you refuse the gig. Say, yeah, no, I only do this. Unless they're like, whatever. There's no rules. There are rules, but whatever. Okay, does that help? See, that was me. See, I really was an agent, wasn't I?
That
I
was
can
great.
talk contracts up the wazoo. Lila, how did you juggle having kids?
This was on my list of questions too.
Oh, I love that. Kids, raising kids. Well, let me say um when my second I only had the two children, and when my second was a junior in high school, that's when Matt started. Um and then when she was gone, I could really put a lot more into my career. But I had the agency and I became an illustrator because I knew when I was young I wanted to have a great career and raise kids and
Mm.
like really and be at home with the kids. Um, but I think we should talk about that next time.
Yeah, I'd love to go more in depth on that.
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts
Hmm.
and
I'll put a star next
I'll
to
put a
it on my
star.
notes.
Okay. Um, oh, I changed your life, Brenda. Thank you. No rules, but whatever. Yeah. There are no rules, but there are, but all rules were meant to be broken except some rules, like taxes.
Mm,
Okay. Carla Feber.
I did that
Oh, we
one.
did that one.
Hmm.
So, oops, answer live, done. Answer live, done. I don't even need to really do that. Do you have a favorite client? Um, Kids, what kind of gouache? I love all gouache. I love all art supplies. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I think we covered most of the questions in the Q&A. And what? Has it been an hour and 20?
Yeah, that flew by.
Boom. That's great. Oh, this is so fun. I
Yeah,
love
thanks
this.
for me. And
This
thanks
is
everyone for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here and thank you for the chat. We didn't get to read all the questions and all the comments, but we go back and look and we hope you enjoyed it. And so do subscribe and should we announce our next date?
Yeah,
Do you still want to do that?
yeah, is
Ahead
it
of?
Monday,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. So we're doing our next one because Katie's going to India for 2 weeks. So we're
And then
squeezed
she's off to Portugal, right?
that's soon, March 20th.
By the time I get back.
When do you get back?
I get back the first week of March. So then
Okay, we
maybe
will
we could do
squeeze
one
in.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
because I'm addicted to this. Okay, so today. So is it Monday the 10th at
I think
noon?
so. I
That's
don't
what
know
I
where I
have.
put my phone, which has my calendar on
Oh,
it.
right there.
Oh, it's right here. Okay.
Okay, this Monday the 10th at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so we're so bring your questions
Yeah,
and
I loved having all your questions in the chat too. I think it's so funny that we have this whole page and there's two checked off. So we have so much to talk about.
I
You all have so many questions.
know
This is so fun.
it's perfect. I
Yeah,
love this. How was it?
it was great.
I loved
I
it.
think it flew by.
It flew by. And also, I want to pick her brain too, because she's at a place so many of you are at. She's 2 years in the business. She's gotten some success. She's building, she's growing. So that's what, we want to hear that as well. And she's got tips for you. She's a Substack whiz. We could talk about that sometime. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. This was
Thanks,
my
everyone.
pleasure. I was so happy to be here. What time again? Noon. That one's at noon. So put it in your book and
We'll send out a Substack too and everything with all the
mhm,
info.
cool. Okay. So I will now end this gig. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you. There will be a replay. Wonderful. See you later. Bye.